Welcome to Elevating Your Life, where each episode is dedicated to sharing valuable information, useful techniques, and empowering inspiration so that you can experience personal and physical abundance. Success and happiness are within your reach. I am your go-to gal who will help you find your happiness triggers and a true elevated life. I am your host, Paula Vail.
Oh my gosh, this show is going to be life-changing for some of you. I have been counting the days for this interview. We have with us today Nancy Rynes. She is a leading voice for personalizing the wisdom of near-death experiences, developing heart-centered intuition, and living a life of inspiration. She is going to share almost unbelievable situation in her near-death experience with us. It's just going to take your breath away. You are amazing. You're a miracle, Nancy. First off, welcome.
Thank you for having me on, neighbor.
Yeah, neighbor.
That's great.
Well, let's begin with you sharing that experience that you had. And I believe you were actually an atheist before this, correct?
I was, yeah. I'll be honest in that there were times in my life when I was more agnostic, meaning I was open to the possibility that there was some spiritual existence out there of some kind, but I didn't know what that was. And then there were times when I was more on the atheist side where I'm sure that there's nothing besides this material life. So I would go back and forth between that for most of my adult life. And this accident that we'll talk about today happened when about a little over 5 years ago now. So I was in my late 40s. So most of my adult life, I didn't believe in anything other than, this supposed material world that we like to think is around us that really isn't truly as material as we like to think it is. But so I didn't believe really in anything other than what I could touch or measure with my ruler, interact with on a daily basis. And about 5 years ago, I was living in Boulder, Colorado at that time. Went out on a bike ride in the it was the mid to late morning, and it was a beautiful, sunny, warm day, very dry, perfect bicycling weather. And in Boulder, everybody bikes. It's just a normal way of getting around. It is so normal that there are little bike highways everywhere. But I happened to be just on a regular road on a bike lane and was bicycling on a new traffic circle. One of those crazy roundabouts that everybody hates going into. They're really even worse on a bicycle. And I went into this thing, and long story short, a woman came in from the right-hand side and didn't stop. She was too busy texting. She didn't see me, didn't pay attention, didn't stop as she was entering the circle. It just kind of plowed right through the stop sign and hit me broadside. Is kind of like this on my right-hand side. The accident was horrendous, and if you want, I'm not going to get into the details of that today because we don't have a ton of time, but if you want to read about how the accident unfolded, it's in my book, Awakenings from the Light. But it was a horrendous accident. I didn't think I was actually going to survive the crash because it was so bad. It was horrible. I was eventually dragged underneath of her vehicle for quite a ways because she didn't know she hit me. And so I had a lot of trauma to my spine, to my collarbone. I think I had 5 ribs that were broken, my pelvis, my sternum was cracked. Turns out I also had a punctured lung, which I didn't know about until much later. So I was in pretty tough shape from this, as you can imagine. I did have during the accident itself, I was completely conscious, remember every millisecond of it, even today, 5 years later. But I also had what I thought at the time was weird experience that I didn't dwell on too much because I didn't know what to do with it. But I experienced the accident both from the perspective of being inside of this body, me, and standing physically outside of my body, watching the whole thing unfold from off to the side. And I call that dual consciousness. I don't know what the real term for it is or if there even is one, but what I began to notice and began to kind of put together for myself is that there were two very distinct levels of consciousness there. One, the body, our regular human consciousness, which is ego-driven, it's fearful, it's anxious, it's all of that stuff that we need in our lives, all of those emotions, those thought processes, in order to live in this, physical existence, whatever this is. We have to have some level of emotional involvement, some fear, all of that stuff. In that moment, though, the fear had taken over. As you could probably imagine, I was terrified that I wasn't going to survive. But I noticed that consciousness that was outside of this body, that was watching the accident happen from off to the side, was exceedingly calm, very peaceful, almost in a Zen-like state, and kept talking to the me that was underneath the vehicle that was in the accident. Don't worry, everything's going to be okay. It's a horrible accident, yes, but you will be fine. This is the way that it's supposed to happen in this moment. Don't worry, it will be okay. You're well looked after. So it was more of a comforting, kind of connected spiritual voice that was coming from that other me, the higher self, the more connected part of me. And I felt that, like, what in the world is that? I had no training in consciousness to that point. I had no words to describe what was happening. I didn't know what to do with it, so I just said, okay, that's really weird. I'm not going to think about that too much. When the accident stopped, so basically when a bystander stopped this woman from driving and the paramedics came, that's when those two aspects of me came back together in my body, and merged back into this me that we're seeing here on camera. Mm-hmm. And that's for me when kind of like I knew that there was the start of going down the rabbit hole. I wasn't quite ready yet to go down the rabbit hole, but I was getting close. It was sort of the precursor for what was to come. So I had a lot of, as you can probably imagine, a lot of body trauma, a lot of broken bones. Most of them were in my spine. It was a major miracle, not a minor miracle, but a major miracle that I didn't die on the scene, or that I was actually still able to feel my feet and move my toes, because the trauma to my neck and back were unbelievable. I think the total number of they actually kind of lost count at bone breaks. So there were at least 24 bones that were broken. Each one of those bones were broken in multiple places. So they just basically stopped counting the number of breaks. It was just, there were too many breaks. So at the trauma center, they decided that the best course of action would, for me, in order to be able to walk again, because that was my biggest fear. I was terrified that I would never be able to walk again. That was looming. I was a bicyclist. I hiked. I did some trail running. I wanted to be active after this, and I just couldn't, in that point, like, wrap my brain around what would happen if I couldn't walk again. Mm-hmm. So they said, well, your best option really is to have surgery to put in titanium rods on either side of your spine to stabilize you. And then they would also put me in a body cast as well. The rods would be in there forever, and the body cast would be on for anywhere from, they said, from 12 to 16 weeks, maybe a little bit more, but 3 to 4 months is what they thought. So I went in for surgery and ended up dying on the operating table. I had some kind of an odd reaction to the anesthesia. My heart stopped, which is unusual for a healthy bicyclist. Back then I was a bike racer. I don't race anymore, but I was then. I was exceedingly healthy, very fit, very aerobically fit. And I just flatlined as soon as they gave me the anesthesia. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't go through the floating at the ceiling at that point. I left my body and was immediately somewhere else. And that somewhere else was this beautiful place. It looked to me, I was on a hillside overlooking mountains and valleys and beautiful silvery light. I mean, the light was indescribable. It was so, it glowed, like the air glowed. I don't know how else to describe it, but the air just glowed with energy. And I felt love. Not just that I felt loved with a D on the end, but I felt love as if it were a physical force coming through me. Like heat would come through you if you were standing in front of a fire. I could feel this network, this energy of love going through everything and me. I mean, that it was coming through me. It felt like I was being embraced by this feeling of love, this energy of love. It wasn't just a feeling. It was more than that. It was really an energy. It was a presence in and of itself. And joy, acceptance, welcoming. But I knew that there was I was completely conscious that my body was still on the operating table. I knew that my body was on the operating table. And I began to think, well, wait a minute, this isn't right. I wonder if I died down there. I wonder if this is what people describe as, I use heaven with kind of quotes around it, but is this what people describe as heaven or the afterlife? And I began to just I sat with that for a little while, and then there was an answer that came to me it was like it was coming from all around me, but inside at the same time, that said, this is your real home. This is your spiritual home. This is where you belong. Welcome home. And with that welcome home was like another wave of love and peace and welcoming. And I wept because it was like, I'm finally home. I remember now. This is where we all belong. This is our spiritual home. And I felt, finally at peace. Like, what was it? What was that down there on earth? I'm finally home again. Thank goodness. And so from there, it just expanded. I spent what seemed like 2 or 3 months with a teacher while I was there, who spent a lot of energy teaching me the things that I would need to learn in order to make this life here one that I would truly enjoy, and also to be able to help my family, my friends, anyone else that would want to listen. So her main goal in teaching me certain things was really to get my life back on track and to be the spiritual person that I was really meant to be. And that's what I ended up putting in the book Awakenings from the Light. Was as much it's not all 100% in there, but the beginnings of it are in there. The basics of what she taught me are in that book. And it encompasses things like, what's the nature of love? How can we be more loving and connected to each other on a daily basis? What are some tips and techniques that I learned that you can try out for yourself in order to bring your consciousness more into this present moment and really live in a more loving way. So a lot of those basic exercises, learnings are in that book. And I encourage people, if you want to get more how-tos, that's really the place to go. I've got, at the end of each chapter, have a list of, things that you can try for yourself, which I felt that was the old me. I used to do a lot of corporate teaching, and I wanted people to be able to come away with stuff that they could put into practice in their own lives.
Yes. So right now, Nancy, to everyone listening and watching today, give us something that we could do today to make a difference. What would you recommend?
To make it, start by trying to make a difference in your own life, because that will, if you focus on yourself, don't worry about what other people are doing. Just try this for a day. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Concern yourself with you, with getting your energy right from the get-go in the morning. So start off your morning with 3 or 4 minutes of maybe just some deep breathing. Think about some of the goals that you'd like to achieve for that day, or maybe for the next few days. It doesn't have to be for that day, but I want you to try to get yourself into a good space. And then before you set off for for your day, before you head out the door, make some kind of an intention. This is my intention. You don't have to use it exactly, but something like this. Today, everything that I do will be from a place of love and light. And I say this out loud every morning. It's my main intention. Everything that I do today is coming from a place of love and light. Every word that I say, everything that I do is from a place of love and light. Not I want it to be, not, I think I'm going to make it, but no, today I am going to operate from a place of love and light. Everything that I say is love and light. Everything that I do is loving and light filled. So that's how I suggest people start. They don't have to use my words. Use something that fits you, but start your day with a deliberate intention of being present in the moment. And that's when you just take a few minutes to yourself and say, yes, today I am going to be more loving and light filled. Everything that I do and say will be from that place. And it takes a while to get used to it. You might forget partway through the day. That's okay. Go back to it at, like at lunch. Do it again at lunch. Or the other thing that you can do at intervals through the day is just take a moment and think about something that you're really, truly, deeply grateful for in that moment. That'll bring your consciousness back to the now moment, to the present, and to something good. So we want to get yourself focused back on the good. So if you start your day with love and light, then focus on the good things throughout the day. I mean, that to me, that's like the best way to start this journey, to getting yourself kind of aligned with love and light on a daily basis.
I love that. I love that, Nancy. I'm going to add something along that line to my morning daily affirmations. And I love the bit about gratitude. In my book, I really am into gratitude, and start your day with think about something you're grateful for. Doesn't that just change our whole outlook?
It does.
Oh my
It gets you. I mean, there have actually been a lot of scientific studies about this, but I won't go into those. But what it does is it gets your, that kind of, I call it monkey mind, where you're just like thinking about all different kinds of things scatter all over the place. It gets everything in your mind focused in on what's good right now. So it's good and now. And that's what gratitude does. If you allow yourself to really truly get into it, not just say, "Oh yeah, I'm grateful that I have a warm place to sleep tonight." Don't just say that. Feel it. Yeah, I am actually really grateful that I have a warm place to sleep tonight, because not everybody has a warm place to sleep tonight. So just allow a few minutes, maybe not even that. It doesn't even take that long to feel it, to allow yourself to really feel it. That'll get your feeling state and your thinking state back into the good.
Oh, that's just such a powerful message, Nancy.
It is. And it's not that hard to do. Even if you have to set a reminder on your cell phone, to just do a gratitude reminder every 3 hours. Try that and see how that changes your day.
It does. It really does just totally bring us back to, oh, okay, a different, instead of I want, I don't have, we go to, I'm grateful for this. Yeah.
Yeah. It gets your, what it does is it gets you out of the wanting stage. And wanting is really, to me, the way I see the word want is really almost from a place of fear. Like, there's this big gap here. I don't have something and I'm afraid that I don't have it, so I'm going to want it. But what it does is it puts you in a place of, I have it pretty good. Yeah, I've got it pretty good. Like for my gratitude, my first gratitude every morning still is when I put my feet on the ground and can stand up on my own. I'm still grateful for that 5+ years later, because I don't take that for granted anymore.
Yeah.
Like that can go away at any moment.
Oh my gosh. You and I are like so connected. I was a preemie baby under 3 pounds, not
oh my goodness,
survived the night. And they brought in a priest, gave me my last rites.
Wow.
And so I've always I'm grateful for my life.
Yeah.
This, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
Oh, give us, take a moment, Nancy, to share with everyone your website. And then we have a few minutes left. Whatever last words. And everyone, we are going to be doing another show because she has so much more to share. So watch for that.
So my website is nancyrynes.com. That's NancyRynes.com. And my book is called Awakenings from the Light. You can get that on Amazon. And from my website, you can also link up to me via Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest. I don't do Twitter anymore, but you can get a hold of me on Facebook that way too. So just Google Nancy Rynes and you'll find me.
I love it. I love it. And I know you talk about so many different things, Nancy, such as like the power of choice.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to share with us on that topic?
Well, gratitude goes back to that power of choice. So in each moment, what it comes down to is we have the ability in each moment to choose how we're going to live that moment. It takes awareness in that moment to make that conscious choice. But in each moment, you have the choice of how to live that moment. And that can be from a place of light and love and gratitude, or it can be from a place of fear and, anger or anxiety. That's up to you. I would encourage people to make the choice every day, to try to have as many positive interactions as possible, because your choices make a difference, not only in your life, not only in the lives of those people around you, but your choice is actually, think about it this way, it's an energy vibration. When you make a loving choice to do whatever it is, it could be just to practice daily gratitude. It could be, I don't know, to give someone at the supermarket a helping hand with their groceries to their car. Something really nice. When you're kind and gentle and compassionate, not only does it help the person you're intending to help, but it also kind of it invigorates that energy of love that's around us now, right here. I mean, we're all energy right now. We're all, even though we're still here in this physical plane, it's all energy. And the more that you can send out that positive, helping, loving, kind vibration, the more that you will, I call it strengthening the field of love around you. You're really having an impact. It isn't just some, I mean, a few years, 5, 6 years ago, I would have said, ooh, that's kind of woo-woo, but it's for real. We can talk about this in our next show, but there's a real energy around all of us from which we all come. We all come from that. And you can impact that by the choices that you make in every moment. So think about it. I mean, you're really not just interacting with the physical, but you're also interacting with the spiritual energy around you with each choice you make.
I love that. I love that. And it's so amazing to see the difference you can make by, an act of kindness for someone or an animal, or even a smile or a compliment. I love doing that. I love complimenting people or giving them a smile and just see they just,
Yeah.
And that just raises that caring, loving vibration, doesn't it?
It does. And you never know, really, you don't know what's going on for other people. And they may need that smile in that moment to kind of get out of a bad place. Maybe they had, like in my family, my extended family, we had a death in the family this week. And those smiles helped a lot for not only me, but for my extended family. So you just never know what kind of a long-term repercussion your good vibes are going to have on people, because you just don't know how someone's showing up in the moment. You don't know what people are going through. So help them out as much as you can.
Oh, Nancy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So fantastic. I'm so excited for our next get together.
Yeah, we'll get that scheduled soon.
Yes. And everyone, thank you for joining us. Love, hugs, and blessings. Nancy, love, hugs, and blessings.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Oh.